Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your host, your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have an amazing show for you tonight. And we have all three of the amazing commentators here: myself, the beautiful Miss Ida B, and of course, my producer, Mark Lee. Hi, Ida. You know I miss you all the time.
Hey everybody! Hey everybody!
I
I
miss
short
you.
people problems. I'd be like, how can I make myself not look as black and as short? I said, Ida, you can't win both races. Just try not to look short. I just look more,
Stop.
I just look more and more chocolate, and my teeth are so white. I'd be like, Ida, okay. Like I was just telling, I became the neighborhood community snitch. Somebody had left their door, and I be minding all my business, but I went on my little camcorder thing, and I'm like, oh, this thing do actually work. It picks up everything. Somebody left their front door open. Now this is how. Now tell me what this person is white or black. When I called the non-emergency police, they said it was coming. By the time they almost got here, she showed up and she went in her house. Now is she white or black?
Black?
No, white.
Good.
White
Really?
Yeah.
people, black people would have waited to the police and we would went through the house together. I ain't going because her door was left open for 8 hours.
The door was
Oh,
left open for 8 hours.
A Great Dane dog. She has this expensive dog. When she came to the house, that dog came on downstairs. My next door neighbor said that dog ain't for the streets. The dog never left the house. I said, well trained. She's paid $1,000. I done left my door open. I sat right in the car into the police. Said, no, Pookie, whoever, gone in there. They said we could walk through again. No, we ain't. And I stayed in the hotel for like a day. I'm like, how you live? And now I see outside keep opening her door. Opening to like,
Yeah. Hey, Ida, I got a question for both of y'all because I know that the hostess with the mostest, and men, namely Dr. Anthony, is not the biggest animal person. I get it. She's allergic to animals and all along those lines and everything. But that being said, we had a holiday parade, and I saw what I think is one of the most amazing things of all times. And it wasn't a dog, but we have a group that does bike derm, so it supports bike riding in the area. And I'm all about exercising and biking. Used to have a bike myself and everything. But I saw on the parade, I was watching it on YouTube, not on regular being in the audience and everything. But there was a member of Bike Derm that literally had on, I think it was his left shoulder, this had to be the most highly trained cat I've ever seen. Because if you know parades, you know that literally there are
what?
kids, there are yelling, there's screaming, there's bands. That cat was perched on that man's shoulder forever. I'm convinced the cat was drugged because there's no way that cat was staying on that shoulder that long of a time. But it was literally being driven through the main street of Durham on the man's shoulder. So, like I said, Ida, I think the cat was drugged.
Yeah. Oh, I think the cat was stuffed and we're just sewn on to him. Cause you be like, cats, me and my friend had a cat, and they do what they want to do when they want to do. And outside around people,
Yes.
nah, nah, not on my watch. Nah, nah.
yeah, they can have that because yeah, we ain't doing none of that. You can be outside because there's a cat that actually lives in this neighborhood, and it
Mhm.
comes in my yard all the time. It walks on my truck all the time, and I
Oh,
try to beat it up all the time because I don't want
oh,
it in my yard. Because I'm allergic to pets, and I just don't want it in my yard. So I was looking out the window the other day, and I saw the dang on cat on the fence, and I went out there and I was like, "Get your!"
see?
Because I don't want it to feel like it's comfortable in my yard because you're not going to be comfortable in my yard because
They
the
got
neighbor,
it sense. So,
No, I get
yeah,
what
no,
you're
it's
saying.
no,
so
the neighbor feeds the cat. The
I
neighbor
feed
feeds
we
the cat.
got a neighborhood stray cat, and because my
He
friend
feeds
used to have
all
a
the
cat,
strays.
and he sits out on my stoop until I come outside and feed him. I call him Clyde because he's smooth. Once he eat, he just and I think about 4 or 5 of us feed him. And I say, oh, I don't really care for cats. And the cat says, so what? Just feed me. I'll be done. As soon as I feed him, he'll go about his
Yeah,
business.
he's
So
glad he's going on his way. But speaking of which, and that same parade, and we talked about this before, there are some people might use this term of Uncle Tom because they don't necessarily support their own and all along those lines. But um, y'all may not know this. Well, Miss Ida, you may know it, and even you, Dr. Anthony, you may know it. But there are a number of cities that have reputations, and one of those cities that has a reputation, part of the reason I love being here in Durham, is it is a very progressive city. It is very much a city of liberal politics and liberal background, and sometimes even the white and the black folks get along. But it is definitely considered a more progressive city. Can y'all tell me how come in this same parade, the very reactionary governor candidate Mark Robinson wanted to be coming down in the middle of said city? I'm surprised that they didn't egg him and everything, but I get it. You're trying to campaign for votes and everything along those lines. But when I saw that he was coming through this neighborhood, I'm going like, you do realize that you're coming to a neighborhood where you'd be lucky if you get 5 votes. That's just me being my assessment and all along those lines. But he was there just cruising because he wanted to be governor of North Carolina with his anti LGBT, anti number of other community attitudes and all along those lines. But like I said, when I was looking and saw that he was on TV and trying to get those votes, I was shocked that he was coming through this particular city. Me and some friends of mine, speaking of the things doing wrong, we're convinced he took a wrong turn. He really meant to be at a parade in a more reactionary city. He didn't mean to be here. He just took the wrong turn.
That's like what is Candace? What is her last name?
Candace
Owens.
That's like Candace being up, on the Grand Poopah or the shaking, waving through, And like I said, I think for me, when I think of blacks, minority blacks, Uncle Tom, or that goes on that side, and some people have done it well. OJ have done it well. Candace Owens have done it well. And these people, you could tell they're going to be a ride or die. I always think of the Dave Chappelle skit where he was a blind black person. He thought he was white and he hated all the black people. And when he showed up for the KKK meeting and he was going to be their grand poobah, they was appalled and nobody had the heart to tell him that he was a black Negro, a ninja. But I think when I watch, and I seen Herschel Walker, and I done seen people, I think black people, we will play the game, and sometimes we know these people are really like Candace on. She's really over there now. She sort of started playing like Silk and Diamond. Those two black women that was under. I was on the fence. I said, and I think some people just want to be famous, and very few blacks. And you think of whites, Gary Owens, Eminem. You got very few white people that can come to the cookout. That is, and I think it's just a strange game to play. But Donald Trump have created a playlist because what we learned for sure, white people are going to vote. Period. They are going to vote. But I don't see white people despise each other, but they were band together to vote against one of us. And where he's screwing up, what's the one in South Carolina that's running for president?
Tim Scott.
Oh, he's not running anymore. He suspended his campaign.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. And when they do mess with us, they like the bright-skinned black. They struggle with the chocolateness. And so when you think of OJ, and you think of the trophy, and you think of blacks, and I think when we get into the politics, even if we didn't want to be Democrat, we can't go Republican. The white folks ain't going to allow it, and it does not make sense, right? Now, like I said,
yeah, go ahead.
But like Candace always made her a lane. Kevin Samuels
she tried it with the Democrats, but the Democrats
but it wasn't nothing in it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So she tried it with the Democrats, but the Democrats didn't buy it. But then when she started dissing black folks, then the white people jumped on her bandwagon. Now that she dissed the Jews, now they done called her ignorant. They done called her all kind of things. They done put her in a place that there's no place for her. But as long as she was dissing black folks and talking about black women and black men and this, that, and the other, she had a seat at the table. But now she's talking about Jews and what they should and should not be doing to people over there and the genocide. She no longer has a seat at the table. They're with her.
Well, they handed Nick his bottom, his behind part. You remember Nick got very comfortable, and that time he was interviewing that guy from Public Enemy, what Colonel such and such, and so we know our white counterparts are always watching us, and we want to see. Good. And every now and then you dip your and so like I said, you watch, and I think for me, unfortunately my take, Black people don't care about politics, which is odd because we should. We should care about politics. And should I be a
I
Democrat?
think they do care about. I think it's a certain number of black people that care about politics, and it's also a certain number of black people that don't care about politics. I think the ones that
I
don't care
think
about
it's a large
politics,
number don't care.
right?
You
But
know,
I think the ones that don't care about politics is the ones that can't vote. So they're out here spreading this stuff, this nonsense about your vote don't count. Yeah, your vote don't count because you can't vote because you have a felony, player, and your vote don't count. And then in some of the places they get restitution and they can go back and vote after so many years or whatever. But it's just a broad understanding of understanding how the voting process works and understanding. And I've talked about this on the show before and things like that or whatever. And since you brought up politics, there's this black guy talking about he's with Black Lives Matter and talking about that he doesn't support the Democratic Party, he supports Trump. And come to find out his ass was a lie and he's not with the Black Lives Matter and he's not basically with nobody, but they're trying to throw any and everybody into the ring so that, you know, we will go against what we believe in. But for the life of me, like I've said before, I can never understand why a black person would vote Republican when we have already known that, you know, when they say law and order, that what that means is we're going to police the black people more. That's what that means when they say law and order. So for the life of me, I can't understand why a black person would stand next to a Republican like Tim Scott and be, you know, shamed within his own right and vote Republican. I'm not saying that you have to vote Democrat, but why would you vote Republican when you know that you're voting against your own best interest? Just like when they talk about, oh, Trump's a genius, Trump this, Trump that. Trump is a damn criminal. Trump is an idiot and he's a criminal. And y'all out here talking about, oh, you know, he's this and he's that and the black man standing with Trump. Hell, he didn't even want to shake Tim Scott's hand on national TV, and Tim Scott is a freaking Republican. And you over here talking about, oh, you support Trump when this man, when this man has purposely been negative towards black people ever since the 60s, never wanted them in their housing, never wanted them in the projects in their apartments, and the Department of Justice has always brought lawsuits up against them. They have lawsuits up against them now. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. You know what I'm saying? So for the life of me, I can never understand why a black person would vote for those people.
Well, I got another one for you that I don't get either, but maybe y'all can help me understand it. But, you know, there is a far right group, and all along those lines, it is called the Proud Boys. We've oftentimes heard about this group that is very much a far right group, and all along those lines. But it came to my attention recently that one of their leaders, and he is apparently a prominent leader, is actually a member of the Hispanic community. So if somebody can explain to me how Enrique Tarrio, who is apparently Hispanic, is part of the Proud Boys, which they do not like anything brown or black, I am very much confused, because why would you even be a member of the Proud Boys if you are a member of the Latino community?
Because he wanted that acceptance. He wanted that white acceptance. And I tell people all the time, you know, a majority of the Hispanic population, they want to put, you know, white supremacy, and they want to hold, you know, the same things that, you know, the white supremacists do over blacks. They want to do the same thing to black people. And then, you know, when something happens, oh, we need to band together. We don't need to band together. Keep that same energy. You know what I'm saying? Stay your ass over there across the Rio Grande. Keep that same energy. You know, when the Puerto Ricans, you know, got that wake up call when Trump, you know, was throwing, you know, supplies and things like that or whatever, you know, they were like, you know, black people don't do this. Black people don't. First of all, you come from blacks. Just because your skin is light doesn't mean that you don't come from blacks. Any of those Caribbean countries, ancestors are black. So let's just start there. So you got your wake up call when he didn't give you what you thought you were going to get, because you thought, because my skin is light, oh, I can have a seat at the table. But he showed you that you wasn't going to get that seat at the table. Then everybody wanted to say, oh, you know, the black community need to support this. The black community, no, the black community don't need to do nothing. Y'all keep that same energy that you had when you thought the white folks was going to continue to support you. And then when you got shut down and saw that they wasn't going to support you, now you want the blacks to come and support you. Just like old girl last week when she was talking about, oh, the blacks don't know this and the blacks don't know that, and we need to be schooled about, you know, Jewish Jewish, Judaism, and we need to be schooled about this, and we need to be schooled about, they're copying Jim Crow and this, that, and we don't need to be schooled about nothing. We have chosen our side. We don't want to deal with the bullshit. It's not about being anti-Semitic. It's not about being anti-Jew. It's not about being anti-nothing. It's about being anti-bullshit. Because when we were getting killed, like we still getting killed and knocked down in the streets, where were y'all?
Yeah, good point. I definitely can understand that. Just really quickly along those same lines, but switching a little bit still in politics and not so much in our community and everything. But I got to ask you, and maybe I know Miss Heidi's going to have a field day with what I'm going to ask, and all along those lines. There was a certain island that people would go to, and apparently there was a lot of underage activities that were going there in the sense of abusing kids and all along those lines. And there is a candidate that has admitted he was on that plane trip. If you were Robert F. Kennedy, why did you come out and admit that you were on the Jeffrey Epstein plane at least twice, maybe 3 times, and all in that line? Because he came out last week and he's like, yeah, I was on the plane. And we know what happened on that plane and what happened in that island. So I'm thinking that maybe he's not as serious a candidate as he claims to be, because he's the one that came out. He brought it out.
But the thing about it is, Mark, these white men been doing this since the beginning of time. Because I had to check this white woman when she was at the state of Maryland, when she was trying to call herself trying to give a in-service about black men and black men pimping girls. And like I told her, I said, you need to start where it started from. I said, these white men been going to all these different islands and things like that and sleeping with these underage women long before black people, black men thought about pimping and whatever else. I said, so you need to take that into account, because what you will not do is you will not categorize my nephew, my cousin, my uncle, my brother, or no other black man as what you're categorizing. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them are out there doing that, but you would not categorize the majority of them out there doing it, because she had pictures of Exhibit. When was Exhibit out there pimping? When was Bishop Don Juan? He probably was, because he said he was. Had pictures of Bishop Don Juan, had pictures of Snoop and things like that. They're cosplaying characters. So you done took a cosplay of a character and turned this into a whole identity of a black man. But I had to shut her ass down, and I had to check her and let her know that under my watch, we were not about to have this, because I turned it right back on her, placed the accountability right back on her, and placed the accountability right back on the white men. Because that's where it started. Because a lot of those people, we can take Dominican Republic, for example. They have those mail order brides that come from the Dominican Republic. All those white men go over there and sleep with those young girls and things like that, giving them all type of STDs and HIV and all of this or whatever, right there in the Dominican Republic. Brazil, so they're the masters of the sex trafficking or whatever. But what you're not gonna do is turn this into a black man thing, because it ain't a black man thing. Let's start where it started from: white men.
I hear what you're saying and everything. We've not done one of these in a while, but I've got a video that I want to show, and I want to hear y'all's reaction to it, because apparently there was a historical moment that had gone on, and all along those lines, and there was a historical incident that happened, because apparently somebody was trying to take out this historical location. So if y'all hold on a second, I'm going to play it, and then I want to hear what y'all got to say about apparently somebody was trying to take out none other than Martin Luther King's home, and all along those lines. There's no sound, but definitely they say that she might have been a veteran or other things. But let's check out this and see what y'all got to say about this and all along those lines. That's the milder version, but what I had seen, and I don't know if y'all heard about it, but there was a woman that apparently tried to take down Martin Luther King Jr. house and everything. They say that she might have been a veteran, that she might have been involved in a number of things. But one of the videos I had seen literally showed her about to pour gasoline. I do understand that some of the, kind of like your point, was either there were people that were in the neighborhood that saw the woman doing this and all along this lines, and they stopped the attack from taking place. But I know that I saw this video last week. It actually caught me off guard that somebody would be trying to take out Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic home and all along those lines. But any thought about this lady? And like I said, I do understand that there might have been some mental health issues and even some issues around her role as a veteran and all in that space. But definitely that is something that I've heard conversations about over the last few days. This young lady that came out there in that historic home in Atlanta and had the tank, because one of the videos I saw literally showed I think it was an orange tank idea, and you literally could see her pointed all over the house, and it looked like she was ready to light it on fire.
Well, when I think of mental health, have nothing to do with racism. I have served. I've worked in law enforcement, and we all agree that one is a learned behavior, and sometimes it's a chemical imbalance. And when I joined the military, I was surprised how the military perpetuated racism through enlistment to officer, through ranking. And so what the government does is it allows us to operate that in a more COVID ranking system, bands of brother. And so I always like how when something goes on, white, black, or first thing that let's see if this person was a veteran. The person could have been in reserve for 2 days. They could have served a week. And so as a veteran, it's offensive to me because, they imply all veterans have some mental health issue. They got some PTSD. I'm part of a group called Veteran for Veteran. And quite often, the military determined these people had issues before they put on that uniform, and they just couldn't weed everybody out. Um, every time I think there was a shooting in Las Vegas, and the guy got mad because they wouldn't hire him at the university. Um, and when you think of racism, racism was in the Bible. Racism, classism, sexism, anything with ism is going to be a problem. You're not going to be able to eradicate that because the nature of how we are built as human beings, we have to, as long as I hate you, that keeps me from hating me. It makes me feel good. Even the poorest white think they're better than the most educated black. So I even all these conversations we always have, I always look at the root. When people talk, the first thing I look at, let me see where you came from. Let me see your mama and daddy. Let me see, because a lot of, Dr. A and I have these conversations all the time. A lot of stuff we were taught, we had to reject when we became adult. We said, Mom, Dad, that look crazy. They ain't gonna be able to go along there. But as being reared into that, and all it takes is a deficiency. Oh, I didn't get that. I used to say the white hates the blacks hates the Mexican, the Mexican hate the African, and we could break these things down into category. But then you would say to them, well, Harpo, name this white person done something to you. Like we could see clearly, when I think of Donald Trump, I don't think of this man as a racist. I think of this as just a rich, spoiled brat. When you look at Donald Trump before he became president, Donald Trump interfaced with a lot of well-to-do black people. Donald Trump didn't want to be a Republican. He just wanted to win. And he figured, okay, let me go over here, blah, blah, blah. He talked about in 1986, anybody that would vote for him would be stupid. So, but once
that's why he went to Republican, and he stated that.
But he needed
right.
But
yeah, and that's what he stated.
When you think about the 1% or the 5%, you have some people, Donald Trump, Martin Luther King, Obama. You got people that are so unique, like a unicorn. They have a playlist and nobody can follow. See, the problem with the Republican and other people now, they're trying to be Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't even Donald Trump. He's a puppet. He's being held up by all these entities, And so it can only be one crate in the room, and he got that. He said, and so it's a narrative that we constantly play. But I always say to Dr. A, when we talk about these things, about black people, we don't have in-depth interest about things that impact us. We should. I would sit there and I would talk to my friends. They forced me to know who Charleston White, all these slap leg things are not really it's trending. But it's impacting our community. And we play an ongoing part in, we just want to be entertained.
But along the same lines, well, one, I'm gonna play the better version of the video with audio from our fine folks in Atlanta, so y'all can see
But we
the
don't
one
have to.
actually trying to burn down the building and all along those
We
lines.
don't have to.
We don't have to. Okay, we won't
No,
have to.
because I wasn't even gonna bring it up, because it was a black woman. I wasn't even gonna bring it up.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
whatever her reasons are, her reasons or whatever. But I
Well,
wasn't
she's
gonna
a
give her no
black
attention.
female veteran
No,
wanting
no
to
problem.
burn down a black historical leader house.
Right.
No, but
And I
along the
wasn't
same
gonna.
lines of what you just said, Ida,
Mhm.
there is a state that is very much a reactionary state, and apparently is getting some pushback, and I'm sure it'll get more pushback. But apparently, there are several churches in Florida that are offering African American history lessons during church services. So maybe that's what we need to have more of, is these kind of pushback to some of the reactionary rules of what's going on in that particular area and all along those lines. So there is definitely some folks that have been having conversations about
Well,
that
I mean,
as well.
at the end of the day, Mark, what it all boils down to is you need to teach your children at home. That's what it all boils down to, because the public education system is not a system to fully educate your child in the vices and verses of things that you think that your child needs to know. All those things that you think your child needs to know, you are your child's very first teacher. You need to teach that at home. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that what he did was right, because I totally disagree with it. But at the end of the day, if you want your child to learn certain stuff, like I want my nephews to learn certain stuff, I go over with them at home. I teach them at home. So when I'm at home, we're doing something. We're reading. We're looking at something. We're listening. So they're being taught in the home as well as in school. They can get the white person. They can get the white version of whatever, but they're gonna get that sister girl version from me
But
at
does
home.
that
That's
make
my
you
responsibility.
unique? But Dr. A, quite often, I think you are the exception to the case. I don't think the majority of our African American parents and ancestors have done due diligence to the next generation. You probably came out with the Malcolm X6 out of your womb. You came out and said, Black people, where you at? You came out with that love. But when we get down to the reality of it, sometimes Black people don't even know what being Black means to them. Mean from American, like you said, when we have these uncomfortable, why we had to have Black History Month, we had to have Black History Month. And like right now, when we think about, I hate we don't have, you remember Tavis Smiley used to have that annual State of Black America, and it will force us to come to the table to continue to massage Black issues that we needed to address. The Black community.
I stopped like him after he started those negative comments about President Obama. Him and Cornel West.
But like you said, he went, because nobody's perfect. He derailed. But we need a leader? No. But we need to be able to land consecutively when it comes to education.
But the thing about it is, we are, and let me say this: Blacks are the only race of people that rely on the educational system to teach their children everything. And what I'm saying is, it is not the educational system responsibility to teach your child everything. You are your child's first teacher. You can't get mad with teachers because your child don't know their ABCs. You can't get mad with teachers because your child can't read. You can't get mad with teachers because your child can't recognize their name. But the thing about it is, you need to accept responsibility and accountability, because it's your fault. You, without beating the streets and doing whatever the hell you was doing, without sitting down with your child, without even picking up a book and reading to your child, without even going over the alphabets with your child. So when your child come to kindergarten and your child is behind everybody else, and you mad at the teacher because the child can't write the name, don't know ABCs, don't know nothing, I bullshit you not. I was a 5th grade elementary ELA reading teacher. I had a child in there who only knew about 12 letters out of the alphabet. The child could not even write his own name, could not even recognize his own name. So I tried to, put measures in place to teach this child. You know what the Asian SPED person said? Oh, you can't do that because you're changing his IEP. I said, I'm not changing anything. I said, the child can't read. I said, that's part of the reason why he has an IEP now. because he can't read. He doesn't know his alphabet. He doesn't know sight words. He doesn't know anything. So, the plan and the measures that I was trying to put in place, she went and she overrode me to the principal, and the principal backed her. And I'm just like, we're setting this kid up for even more failure because he cannot read. So what am I doing? The work is too hard. The work is this. Sweetheart, this is 5th grade work. But you want me to teach a kid all year long on 1st and 2nd grade level, then expect them to pass a 5th grade test at the end of the year. Please make it make sense.
But where's the parent fight?
Exactly. Where's
their heat? Where's their heat?
Where is
because
the parent?
The first thing goes to my mind, where's the mother and father? And at some point, I remember when I was a recruiter, I said, this person have a high school diploma and cannot pass a basic entrance exam to join the military. And I was like, and that's why they said, well, you have to start recruiting them at the 10th grade because you got to give them every year to fail the test. So that by the time they get there, but I would go to these people neighborhoods, white, black, and other, and they just thought they done got a free ride at this point. The military just need to take them. And we get into this entitlement that you are entitled to help my son. You are entitled to make things better. You are entitled to get. I think the saddest thing I've ever had someone say to me one time, a young lady said to me, I don't need to join the military because I'm going to get a check just like you. All I got to do is pop out a baby and I can sit at home. The government's going to give me stamps, going to pay for me to go to school. And I remember I seen this young lady 20 years ago, 4 kids. And she said to me, I don't know why I wouldn't join the military. I said, because your mom and your grandmother, all y'all was sitting on the porch in the project. And I was fighting 3 generations. They told me to stop coming over there talking to their daughter because they did not want the generational curse or the cycle broke. And they were on board with her having sex underage, just doing all sorts of, because they needed her to be part of their process or when their benefits ran out. And I was another black interfacing with another black in the project. And they told me I had no business over there. They said, because your blues are our blues. And so you said, and when I see this young lady now, all her kids are educated. So it stopped with her. But like you said, you're going up against the greatest force in our community is the black woman, but the greatest threat sometimes is the black woman because the black man is missing sometimes. I'm not judging anybody. I don't know how. And when you coming in this world off a one night stand, a side chick, the child is almost like an aftermath of something you don't even want. And I do think it's forced on the school system. I'll be amazed what the teacher will be teaching. And I would say, why is the teacher teaching? And they said, because it's not being taught at home.
No, I mean everything because they force everything on the educators. But just to go back to that generational curse and that generational poverty, all of them had a problem when Bill Cosby was like, y'all need to get out the project and y'all need to do X, Y, and Z and y'all need to do this and you need to better yourselves. Everybody, he coming for the black community. No, he's just telling you that you need to get up and you need to stop, being codependent and you need to stop being, relying on the government for, whatever. And this and the other, and get yourself out and get out of that mindset and break those generational curses and break those generational bondages and move forward and do something better in your life. I mean, it's so appalling that, even when I go back home, I still get, you think you all this and you think you all that. I've always thought I was all this and I've always thought I was all that. You're just now taking notice to it because, we're grown and you see me on Facebook and you see me doing whatever. But I've always been who I am. I've always, worn good clothes. I've always done, X, Y, and Z. I was always spoiled and, things like that or whatever. And my mama would tell you, when she was young, I would buy her expensive clothes, expensive dresses, and do this and do that or whatever, So it carries over into, my adulthood. But you have the same opportunity to do what I did, but you chose not to. But you would rather hate on me and instead of going out, making a change and doing something better. And it's all about that mindset. I don't hate on the next person, because
speaking of mindset and everything, there is another conversation that's come up. There's a couple of movies that have been cast, and one of them I've heard lukewarm things about, but there is a famous African American lawman, famous African American lawman, Bass Reeves, and I understand that Paramount is doing a mini series about his life. There was a movie made back in 2010, but now there is a mini series, and now there is also another movie that is going to be dealing with Hannibal. And apparently, there's some folks, including people from the home country of Hannibal, that are not happy about that portrayal. So Denzel Washington is being cast in Anton Fuqua's Netflix movie as that ancient Carthaginian general Hannibal, and apparently it's sparking some controversy in Tunisia because apparently they don't like him being portrayed as a African American and all along those lines. So I didn't know if y'all had any thoughts about either
Well, I mean,
Hannibal
Mark,
or
when it all boils down to it, always boils down to black and white. And I tell people all the time, all you got to do is just follow the color of things. You know what I'm saying? They don't never, white people can portray Cleopatra, white people can portray, African goddesses, and white people can portray, Tarzan and, things of this nature and all of that. But the second that, we put a black mermaid up, white America lost its goddamn mind over a fictional character. So, I mean, it's no surprise that they're not wanting brother Denzel to play the part or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because to me, I get tired of pacifying myself, and I'm not gonna pacify myself. I said whatever the hell is on my mind, and it's either you like it or you don't. You can kick rocks if you don't, and I don't care who you are, what color you are, where you come from, what religion you are. If I got something to say, I'm going to say it. Damn what you thinking, you know what I'm saying? But it's always well, they shouldn't do it because they're black, or she shouldn't get that role because she's dark skinned, or she shouldn't get that role because she's not light enough, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It always reverts back to black and white, and it always reverts back to the person's skin color. So it's no surprise to me that these people don't want a black man portraying Hannibal when the character, when the person that they said Hannibal Lecter was a black man or whatever. But, a lot of those people in those foreign countries don't perceive themselves as black. That's why I don't want my black ass dollars from my taxes going to support none of their asses and things like that. And yeah, I said it. I don't want my black ass dollars for my taxes that I pay going over there to support none of their asses. Because, when the tables are turned and when they need money, we got to come together. We got to show some unity. We got to do this. But at the end of the day, you still have a problem with us playing fictional characters as black people. We're still in an era of black first this, a black first that, and we're what, 2023 going into 2024.
No. And apparently there is a country singer that is making apologies for an remark he made, but Morgan Wallen says there is no excuse for his past use of a racial slur. So apparently he was making this racial slur and all along those lines, and now he has addressed the controversy that they said nearly derailed his multi-million-dollar career. So he apparently,
that's the only reason he apologizing, because his ass got caught. Because that's your true feelings. They apologize when they get caught. When I always say to people, attack them where the money is. Attack that money. You'll see a change. If we want to spark change, attack that money. So we as black people who are heavy consumers, attack that money if we want to see change. You know what I'm saying? Because they only apologize when they get caught. In any other instance, their words are their words, and they feel the way they feel. But this is not me. This is not who I am. Well, who the hell is it? Your character, your doppelganger, your ghost. Who the hell is it? No, it's you. It's all of you. It's not you now because you got caught. But the difference between them and me is I'm gonna always be me. You know what I'm saying? Because like I tell people all the time, I don't like people. I don't like you. I don't care if you're white, you're black, you're Asian, you're Hispanic. I don't care. I don't like none of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it has nothing to do with your color. I just don't like y'all asses. Period. I don't like people. I don't like black, white, none of them. So, I will say I don't like y'all asses, but they're going to backbite and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I ain't sorry. I said what the fuck I said. I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't finna be over here all apologetic. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. No, I meant every word that I said, because when I say something, I'm very intentional. And just like them, they were very intentional, and they got caught. So that's the reason they're apologizing, because
I think all who you are at 20 is not who you are at 40. And depending, and so And so I think sometimes, like I said, um, I think who did does all of this best is Beyonce. Beyonce don't ever respond to anything, and some, but then also, like I said, this is the era of viral.
Hmm.
How since how and even with Robert Kennedy, sometimes Oprah was the only person I seen did it best. Oprah would tell on you herself before you had the opportunity because she had a platform. So, sometimes people say, well, why are you telling well, it's going to come out and I want to get in front of nigga? We didn't even know who you were. Now we're talking about you. Well, that's what I want. So, you always look at the motivation of you remember in 2 years ago, I think around COVID, when the former governor of Virginia did Michael Jackson blackface and all of that, and he was very apologetic of it. This happened when he was in the 1986. He was in college, and that we just let them do whatever they want, and then a lot of things have happened. I'm going to call this the George Floyd movement and COVID movement. And what ended up happening, a lot of things have outwardly give the outward appearance of things have changed, but really things are still the same. Some people did get on that bandwagon and they have financially benefit from DNI and all of the, you know, it benefits black people blood. It benefits when people die, someone benefit from it. Last week we had a conversation about some robbery and somebody needed to be compensated. And do I think, once again, as Dr. A said, do I think Candace Owens said it, and a couple of other black people said it, white and black. I think we black people also use this upon our race is a hustle. People take advantage of us, and we don't know when to say, okay, you said something 40 years ago, you was 19, now you 60 and you're running for office. Who cares? And so I think for what like Dr. A was saying about really being a critical thinker. Do I want to give heat to this person? Do I need to? And it's not about giving a person a pass, like Dr. A would say, but the reality of it, you don't know the motivation of people now. When people make some leeway on social media or on the news, you say that, you remember back in the day they would say it's no such thing as bad publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. But do I think only a certain Cardi B, you got certain people that was able to use a bad situation and capitalize on. But the average person, comic, comedian, politician, it ain't gonna work out for them. Because once they realize, oh my God, this is taking off, they get marketing, PR, and different stuff behind them, and then you find out this person is not, they can't last. Like I said, nobody's perfect every day. Somebody could go and find something we said 20 and 30 years ago. And you know what I would do? I wouldn't even apologize. Well, I wouldn't even respond to it. But, like Dr. A said, they're apologizing because there's some incentive in it. We, most black people, don't buy country music. I think the closest thing, like I know K. Michelle came out with a country song and she said she want to do country music. And we have certain things that are not our lane. Black people, we listen to country music and different stuff, but and when what's that little guy? That little he gave.
I've actually got to take you on task to that to some degree. Not a total task, but there is a dear friend of mine that is here in Durham. She actually moved here because of wanting to eventually meet and marry her husband, and they've had two beautiful kids. But she has a organization called Color Me Country because country music has some deep African American roots. So Reese Palmer is actually the young lady that I'm talking about, and she is actually very much showing that country music has deeper roots even in our community than we are giving it credit for at this particular time. Because there are a lot of people that are doing what they call neo country or a number of other sounds that are in our lanes and all along those lines. And like she said, she is one of the champions for giving country music a form of a renaissance, for lack of a better term.
What was that young those three black girls that they won some show America AGT, the one with Simon Cowell on it,
Mhm.
and they made the rendition of Dolly Parton, Jolene. Um, and I think I can't remember. And so I think it is, but I think like Dr. A said best. I call Dr. A Papa. I am who I am. I am. I've been that since Levi. And but I always say the Dr. A's of the world are unique
Right.
because they will stand 10 toes down. Most people will back down when push a little resistance. To be able to say very prolific and profound statements with research or study or data, or just say, this is who I am, deal with it.
Yeah.
But people want to be famous. People say, when I watch people on TV and different stuff, but like you said, Denzel Washington is probably can do what no other actor can do because he's Denzel. And he probably going to help the movie because he's Denzel. Because otherwise, nobody probably even watch it. I was listening to radio today, and they said the Barbie movie have got 9 nominations, and then the male version, Hoffheimer, got some. And I never watched Barbie, but I wasn't a Barbie
I
person.
wasn't a Barbie person, of course, but I just learned today that the Barbie movie apparently set a record for being the largest grossing movie directed or made by a woman
By a
director.
female, but it happened that way because of black women.
Right.
But my thing is, white women wouldn't even go support a fictitious character as a mermaid, but you black women out there supporting this Barbie movie like it ain't no tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? My black
Because
dollars didn't get it.
because we are always going to support other race before we support ourselves, and those are the facts because we don't know our history. When if you went in the room and you begin to tell them about Barbie, they said, well, Nicki Minaj called herself Barbie. They call her, and the fact that we don't want to know our history. We don't want to be too black, too strong. And so we want to be like lightweight. And like you use Dr. A, you always talk about we want the something. Other cultures want certain parts of us, but they don't want the problems with us. And sometimes we don't even want the problems with us. Like you said, when you get into educating people about these stereotypes and these racist undertone, and but people don't want to hear it. I never was a Barbie person. But like you said, black women are the biggest consumer of products. We make people go viral. We make people become millionaires, but we don't become millionaires ourselves. And so, like you said, as two black women, two black queens, trying to understand the why, and I think I'm watching a phenomenon, everybody wearing pink and different stuff.
No,
And
I
then
like pink, but I'm just not a Barbie person. And I let
yeah,
there was this white woman at work. Oh, she was like, "Oh my God, your pink is so pretty. It's Barbie." I said, "Let me tell you one thing. I'm not no Barbie girl. I love pink, but I'm not Barbie. And this ain't no Barbie pink. It's pink." And I had to shut that down real quick. You know what I'm saying? Barbie does not embolden and signifies pink. She has a certain color like that funny looking shade of pink or whatever, but there's all different shades of pink. I'm a pink girl, but I'm not a Barbie girl.
I gotcha. Speaking of that and everything, there is, because we do it here at Hey Tide, they do it all over the country. There is a certain trend, because we're in holiday season now, that is very prominent. It is this notion of having a Santa like you. As a matter of fact, the company that does it, that's the title of it, is Santa Like Me. And that's the whole notion of Black Santas and all along those lines. So I was just wondering, you two ladies' thoughts around Santa that looks like the representation of the people that are coming for the picture, whether that is a Black Santa or a brown Santa. But I know on the 20th through the 24th, we'll be having Black Santa here. But what is y'all thoughts around a Santa that doesn't look like that rendition that a lot of people see on their greeting cards?
Well, I'm gonna just put it to you like this. I'm pro black everything. So I'm black nutcracker, black Santa, black everything. So I'm gonna be Black Santa, everything.
right on. I think when I think of Santa, I think of um, these fictitious characters, but I also think of white Jesus, white Santa, and but once again, these are characters mostly identified in a predominantly white America, and they set the tone, so they set the character. Most superheroes are white, all these things, and does it actually cause Does it cause harm to a young person? We have seen it does when they did that analogy of putting young kids in front of a black doll and a white doll, and we begin to see kids begin to register color, and they begin to see color as a negative thing. And that's why we came up with what is our Black Christmas?
Kwanzaa.
And so, you know, you have and what I've seen for me, I have seen the average person, it's just easier just to go along to get along. Vice to sit down and tell our children there's no such thing as Santa. And if it's a Santa, it's me or your father or such and such. And what we begin to say, what harm is it? And then, but people thought about that like slavery. What harm is it to own another person? Honey, why is that wrong? And so we begin to understand generationally as we move from one generation, we're going to reflect on things we did in our time and say, wow, people actually did that. People believed in that. And so the narrative of believing in this mythical creature that gives, is that harmful? But why did it have to be white?
Well, but the thing about it is the whole story and the whole notion behind Santa Claus came from Saint Nick. It came from the mountains in Europe. This man, his name was Nicholas, and he would actually go through the neighborhood and give children gifts on Christmas Eve in a sleigh and things like that. Now the notion of Santa flying in the sky and going down chimneys, it was turned into that, but the actual story of Saint Nicholas and Santa Claus did come from an actual person. Now I don't think that it's anything wrong with having something to believe in as a child and giving them those, little, nuances, the Easter bunny, Santa. When I go home, I'm going to write letters to Santa with the babies and with my nephews and, things like that. We know Santa not real. We already know that. But when they're children, you don't shatter the child's, little belief system and, things like that. Children need to have imagination. These children that I teach now, they can't think, they can't process, they can't think outside of an iPad, an iPhone, and, things like that. They have no imagination. They cannot really process, anything, beyond what they can't find on Google and things like that. So, I tell people all the time, I know I'm sponsoring my nephews, but if I want to tell them that Santa is real, then I'm going to let them know Santa is real, to a certain degree. And when they get of age where they're understanding, like money and, things like that, then we'll start having those discussions around, oh, we're purchasing this and we're purchasing that. But for, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, the little babies, the pre-primers and things like that, it's nothing wrong with giving them something to believe in, a good hope and, imagination and things like that. Because when you take things from children and you make them bitter, they become bitter adults.
Well, I don't think it's about taking something from.
No, I'm saying taking the belief of Santa, because a lot of I worked too hard for this. I did this. I did that. We understand that you worked hard for it. We're not taking anything away from you, but when you're taking things away from the child, such as the Easter Bunny or Santa and things like that, and when we come along in the education system and we ask them, let's play make believe, let's pretend, let's imagine, let's do foreshadowing. These kids can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So
but Santa's white, Jesus white, the angels are white.
Santa can be whatever color you want him to be. You know what I'm saying? Like my Santa is black. My Jesus is black.
No, I know what you're saying and everything.
Believe, what you said.
I was going to say to even Dr. Anthony, to your point and everything, I think that I mentioned to you off camera before we started and everything. That's one of the rules that we even do with the Road to the Apollo, because we will not boo the kids, because we are actually trying to encourage the kids to participate and to not have that ego shattered, because we know kids at a very young age can have that ego shattered. And I want to say that that's a rule that the actual Apollo in New York also recently initiated.
No, but they need their ego
shattered.
So definitely. And let me tell you why. They need their ego shattered. Okay. And this is a life lesson. We have to teach our children life lessons. We have to teach them that everything that they do, they're not going to be a success at it. If you look at all the people who went back and, who was killing people, they had coping issues. You know what I'm saying? Those people who had mass shooters, the Columbine, all those people, they had coping issues. So we have to do things that's going to hurt our children's feelings. We have to do things that's going to put them into perspective of thinking about life. Like, we can't go around, teaching our children that everything is just going to be hunky-dory and everything is just going to be perfect. Everybody's going to like you. Everybody's going to want to be your friend, and everybody. No, we cannot set those children up for failure. When we do things like that, we're setting children up for failure. Children need to learn how to cope. They need to learn how to fail. And that's the problem now with, a lot of these people. They don't know how to fail. And even when they became adults, remember when the stock market crashed and all those people were jumping out the buildings? They couldn't cope. You know what I'm saying? So we have to prepare people in the future to cope. And if we take things away as such as failure, we're not doing our children a good service. We're doing them a disservice because we're not prepping them for what life has to offer. The boy that shot up the school in Texas, his reason why that he shot up that school was, you know what it is, Mark? Can you guess? Can you tell me? He was rejected by a girl.
He was rejected, right.
He was rejected by a girl. So we cannot set these young people up for failure. We have to teach them how to cope. When we were growing up, we played the dozens. They call it playing joning up here in DC, but we called it playing the dozens. You talked about your mama, your grandmama, your grandpappy, and everybody else in between. So it was like a rite of passage in the Black community. It was like a hazing thing that went down between the cousins, the distant cousins, the brothers, the sisters, and things like that or whatever. So it's certain things that we taught our children in certain things that they learn that they can identify with and they can process. But nowadays we're not teaching children how to cope. For example, every child has to get an award when they play a sport. For example, every child has to have an Easter egg when they go out and get an Easter egg. You know what I'm saying? So we're not teaching our children how to fail. And that's one thing about life. We have to teach them how to fail because life is not going to be positive for everybody. And I'm not saying go out and, do egregious things, but we have to teach our children life lessons that, hey, you're going to be told no. You're not going to get the job. You're not going to, be successful at everything that you do. I learned through, trial and error. I didn't get jobs because I look like me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get jobs because other women didn't like me, so I didn't let that deter me. But if we're going to allow children to, go through life and think, oh, hey, just because I went to this company, I'm going to get hired because I applied. Although I don't have the skill set to work at this company, I still believe that I'm going to get at this company. Prime example, Ida, you mentioned the man who shot up in the school in Las Vegas. Maybe you were a professor at a different college. Maybe you did teach at a different college. Maybe you were successful over there, but maybe your skill set was not what they needed over here. And people have to understand that you're not going to fit into all situations. Every job is not catered for you. Just because you have the credentials to do the job does not mean that you're going to get hired for the job. And that's where the misconception is like, oh, well, I'm Dr. Anthony. I got a PhD, so I should be able to go, here and there and everywhere and, just work and get a job. But it doesn't work like that. I can't go and be a neuroscientist, although I have a PhD because I didn't study that. You know what I'm saying? That's not my background or whatever. So we have to teach children how to cope. We have to prepare them. So yes, their world should be shattered. Are they going to be hurt? Yeah, but they learn to get over it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole point of shattering their little worlds, letting them get over it. Just like when the little boy, likes the girl and the girl don't like him back. Or the little girl likes the boy and the boy don't like her back. You know what I'm saying? We're building our children and we're teaching them life lessons. We're teaching them about relationships. We're teaching them about heartaches, disappointments. We're teaching them about a whole segment of things that people are trying to, take away from it. And if they just have a conversation with their child, they will understand that their children actually understand way more than they portray, that the parents portray that they actually do. I don't talk to the babies and, things like that at the house. I have full conversations with the babies. When I go to places, I just mailed. I forgot to mail their postcards from Italy. I just mailed them today. They won't know. but I mail them postcards. And when I go home, I have a conversation. Although that they're two, I still have a conversation with them, and we look at the postcard. We talk about it. We discuss it. We have full-fledged conversations. And do they get punished? Yes, they get punished because they have to learn that, everything doesn't go your way. So we have to teach our children, and that's the problem. We're not teaching our children, and we're not letting them fail. And that's where the issue is. We have to let them fail in order for them to be successful and in order for them to learn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Almost time to wrap up. One of the things that I was going to bring up, and we can talk about this next week, we kind of alluded to it last week's show and everything, but apparently some of the swing states, there is a significant portion, afraid to say this because I'm hoping that Donald Trump does not win re-election, that are thinking about voting for Donald Trump if the elections were held today. So we know Ohio is a swing state, and there are polls from some of our major networks indicating that 20%, that's 1 out of 5, of Black voters would consider voting for Donald Trump if the presidential elections were held today. But if he had been...
I don't believe that to be accurate.
You don't think that's accurate? Because there's a number of folks...
I don't believe that to be accurate, because when you look at the poll numbers, and people got to understand how statistics are done. You know what I'm saying? This is done out of, like thousands of people and, things like that. And then you have to understand, like, they probably already polled Black people who were Republicans. You know what I'm saying? So they're not giving you the basis of, who they polled, what area they polled, and, things like that or whatever. So I honestly don't believe this to be accurate. And if they do vote for Donald Trump, then, they can go and burn in hell with his ass anyway, but like I said, I just don't believe this to be accurate, because when they do those poll numbers, they typically poll a lot of white people, and they typically poll Black people who think like white people. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a real depiction of the actual Black person who is going to, actually vote. Did they poll Black women? Because 95 to 98% of Black women vote Democrat, and we've always voted Democrat. So, you have to look at where they're polling and who they are polling. So, I don't really, like fall prey to when it comes to, like those polling numbers, just like when the white people was on TV talking about, oh, it's going to be a red sweep. It's going to be a red sweep. What about?
Nope.
And I stayed firm and I stayed steady. And I told you, Mark, all we have to do is just stay firm and stay steady, and we're going to win, and we're going to do what we said we were going to do, as we did. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that, they're putting propaganda, and people have to understand what propaganda is. They're putting propaganda out there to try to get people, everybody's going to vote for Donald Trump, and everybody's not voting for Donald Trump. He is a threat to democracy. He is a threat to everybody. He is a threat to, poor people, rich people, whatever. He's a threat to you. He's a threat to me. And people have to understand that. People have to understand politics. People have to understand, civics and things like that. And I tell people all the time, I know y'all fail civics in high school because half of y'all don't even understand how the damn government work. You know what I'm saying? When you can sit here and say that your vote don't count, I know you don't understand how the government works. So, again, it all goes back to who they're polling and who they're looking at. Because if you get a Black person like Candace Owens, and you get, 4 or 5 of them, they're going to say that they represent the majority of Black women, which that is not true. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on who they're polling. So like I said, and those numbers can be skewed, and data can be skewed, because I went to a couple of conferences over here in DC, and they said that they skew those numbers. And we have learned through, the probes and things like that, that when they were putting those numbers out about Donald Trump, that they lied, that the people that they had putting out those numbers were paid to put out those numbers. So I don't believe any of that crap.
Well, catch your breath real quick, and then we'll get ready to wrap. But before we wrap, Miss Ida, and everything, anything you got to say about what you've got going on in your world, and anything you got to say about the possibility of Trump winning and all along those lines?
No, I'm always in awe. Dr. A never fails me. She never, I feel like, she just, no.
What?
No, she gives it, like you said, the average person, when I think of conversations about the people, is really subliminal messaging. If you hear something long enough, it's said by different resources, whether they're true or not. From a marketing point, you're going to believe it, because once again, in the Black community, if I make you feel helpless, I make you feel it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. So if I begin to spew out things And think about just in life, and when I coach and help people, I'll be like, well, your thoughts. You got life and death in the power of tongue. Your thoughts begin to manifest, and you have to guard what you watch and hear and stuff, especially not that people are gullible, but people really do look to social media, the news, and the government to tell them what to think. And and I have learned people are really not comfortable being a free thinker. That's why you got KKK, and you got all these radicalized organizations. They say, come here, let me tell you how to think. And like you said, in the thinking, I'm going to play on the weakest of the individual. Because like you said, we see all these shootings and killing. And like you said, it comes down to very basic lack of coping skill. Somebody needs to pay because I can't get a job. Somebody needs to suffer. Oh, who should pay? And the people play are always the children, always the Black, always the minority. They're always the victims. So I think for like Dr. A, she has such a strong voice as she really counteract or respond to some, but the average person is not Dr. A. I say Dr. A is a unicorn. I think she's unique. Her voice is unique, her style is unique. But people don't like to be told the truth. People like to tell me what makes me laugh. Tell me. And so when we get into these tough, difficult conversation about the government, about the county, about who people say, don't make me mad. Let me just watch Barbie.
Good point and everything as we get ready to close out this show. Ida, I don't know why you had to mention one of our notoriety people here in North Carolina, because Silk and Diamond actually came from this area, and that's one of our less claims to fame and all along those lines, because they are some North Carolina people and we do not like to claim them, but they are North Carolina folks, and we try to deny them as much as possible.
I can imagine me and Dr. A getting in cahoots one day over a conversation drinking. Tell me, girl, we just gonna go for it. No matter what, stand down. I'm like, no, you out there by yourself, girl, I ain't able to do it. Because they had to be in cahoots with those old 90 hairstyles and say stand down. And when it took off to be, and yeah.
But the thing about it is, let me say this, and then we're gonna go. The thing about it is, white people always like to be entertained by Black people, like you said, Ida. And so Diamond and Silk were entertainment for white people because they basically said the stuff they used them as a puppet. They said things that they could not get away with, but they knew that they could get away with it. So they fed them a lot of BS, just like they feed Candace Owens a lot of BS, and she comes up with a lot of things that she can say that white people can't say. You know what I'm saying? So as far as Diamond and Silk is concerned, what Donald Trump at now, girl? You know what I'm saying? Where he at now? So my thing is, before you sell yourself out and before you sell your soul to the damn devil, you need to think about that long-term ramification. Just like when they told Chrisette Michelle not to sing for Donald Trump at his inauguration, and she sung anyway, and I guess she thought we was playing the Black community. She has never recovered. You know what I'm saying? And she's still on the brink of recovering. So when we tell you as a Black person, don't do X, Y, and Z, baby, don't do X, Y, and Z. Remember when they came out with Steve Harvey and they said Steve Harvey was voting or something, and they was like, oh no, Marjorie said that I'm not doing X, Y, and Z when it came back to Donald Trump. So that's what that's about. You know what I'm saying? Because they always want a Black person to play a puppet, and they always want a Black person to, go against the Black race and go against Black women and go against everything to entertain white folks. But they can't get
Dr. Anthony, it's not just the Black folks, because as I told you before, my brother has a nickname for him, but as far as I'm concerned, Ramaswamy, or as my brother Malik calls him, Beatbox Ramaswamy, is a puppet as well, because that is my brother's nickname for him, is Beatbox Ramaswamy, and I think that nickname needs to stick in all along those lines. So I'm going to give Malik credit for that. So let's call him Beatbox Ramaswamy from this day forward.
I get it, but we were just discussing Diamond and Silk, that people that actually, really knew them because they were given Fox News time and, things like that or whatever, because they were going against, the grain and going against the Black community. But like I said, where they at now,
Yeah.
where Donald Trump is now. You know, you was all up on Donald Trump, you know what, and, you know, talking about X, Y, Z, and, you know, supporting this man, and he has done nothing for you. You know, you were used. So, and now you get to the curb. But I'm sorry, you guys, the clock on the wall says that's all. Hopefully, Miss Ida and, you know, my producer, Mark Lee, will come back to the show, and we'll have some great topics. We kind of got off topic because I wanted to discuss the whole Charleston White situation. So we'll bring that up in the next segment, and we'll discuss the whole Charleston White situation, because I was, you know, some people on the backside, I didn't tell y'all this, but some people on the backside was, you know, like, oh, Dr. Anthony, you need to partner with Charleston White. You need to do this. I was like, no, I don't need to partner with Charleston White. I said, I don't really like his MO. I don't like, you know, no, that's just not me. I'm a little radical, but I'm not that radical. You know what I'm saying? So, so we'll discuss that on the next show. And again, you know, make sure you click like, share. We want to get those numbers up. And the clock on the wall says that's all, and we'll see you guys next Monday. Deuces.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.